Love you too.
Huh?
Love you so much.
Love you so much. Did you thought I said I love you?
Yeah.
I do love you a lot. So much. So cute. Alrighty. Alright. Screen share. You said July 28th?
Yep.
Makes it easier that way. Alright. There you go.
Hello and welcome back to a live recorded to digital format in studio.
And then on Friday,
a little while.
Huh?
we're gonna
It's
do
been a week.
What?
over, and then on Friday we're gonna do the other one. I said on Friday we're gonna do the other one.
Yeah, I know. Just started.
Hello and welcome back to a live recorded to digital format in studio Toonami Pre-Flight. It's been a little while. It's been a week. Hope you enjoyed our live from San Diego Comic-Con episode. I know I did. Did you enjoy your time in San Diego Comic-Con?
No.
So there's that.
Yep.
Today we are going to be talking about number 57 on Pace Magazine's Best Anime Movies of All Time, The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, and as such, some of our favorite missing persons movies. We went for the deep cuts today, so you're in for a real treat. But first off, we wanted to announce a Toonami schedule change, which you probably will have seen on our Facebook prior to now if you are watching this broadcast. In case you did not, starting Saturday, is that our special announcement?
That's actually Patrick Starr's announcement sound. I borrowed it. Okay.
Are we now in breach of contract?
No, I don't think
Potentially
so.
think so.
I don't think so.
Starting this Saturday, we are going back to an 11 p.m. start time. We are a half an hour earlier. Schedule's remaining mostly the same, with a slight half-hour time shift, and Attack on Titan is at 3 a.m. So we're Super at 11, Kai at 11:30, JoJo's midnight, Tokyo Ghoul 12:30, Hunter x Hunter at 1, Lupin the Third at 1:30, Shippuden 2, Ghost in Shell 2:30, and Attack on Titan Season 2 replay at 3. So now that that's out of the way, let's get into the disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, which is a continuation of the melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, the anime series, which I had not watched and proved to be problematic, somewhat problematic in doing this movie, as it is a direct continuation of the story, at least characterization-wise.
It's based on plot-wise too. It's the fourth. This is based on the fourth light novel of the series, and the TV show is based on the first three light novels. And I think that when they finish the series, I don't know why they made a movie, because it's a really long movie. It's the longest anime film besides Forever Yamato. So it's 2 hours and 40 minutes long, which is very long for an anime. And I think that might explain why the animation doesn't really look film quality. It looks like a TV show.
Yeah, at times it looks really good.
Yeah, I mean,
at times it feels like it's more of a continuation.
Yeah, it's weird, and I wonder if the show was wrapping up, and then the fourth novel came out, and they were like, we got to finish it out, and then they just got
caught
money.
in between not having quite enough for a full series, but too much for a feature.
And because it is very much a direct continuation, it sort of revolves around, obviously, the disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya.
Spoiler alert.
But it basically there's a character who resets reality for who is the main character of this show, so that he can decide ultimately if he likes the reality that he was in which they sort of were like a paranormal investigator kind of group of kids.
Brigade.
But they had a lot of adventures, but they also went through some ups and downs, and so this is a reset of reality where his life would be a lot easier, but he wouldn't have these people in it who he's come to be close to. So it's the philosophical question of, if you didn't have to go through the pain that you went through, but you wouldn't have the joy, would you prefer less pain but also less joy, or would you prefer to keep things the way they are and know that you're going to go through the pain that you've gone through? So kind of a deep overall place to start, but
a Capra-esque telling.
But yeah,
Which would you choose if it were up to you?
I'm not good at looking back, so my wife calls me Desharko, which is kind of always go forward. So I don't think I would redo anything. I think I would just go through whatever. I don't think I would change much. I might punch certain people in the face instead of
Harder? Or just period?
Instead of letting them get away with stuff for too long. I think I cut people too much slack. So
that's always been what everyone always says. You're too forgiving, too kind as an individual.
Yeah, it's true. What about you? What would you change? Maybe less frisbee?
No, hell no. I don't really.
That's
no regrets.
What you should change. You don't have any regrets, really?
Not really.
Wow.
Probably would have bought some stocks differently and put some money on the Cubbies, but other than that, yeah. I mean, I think it's all part of the journey, man.
Do you regret saying that?
No.
You should.
I regret signing up for this fucking assignment. Other than that,
you didn't sign up, so there's nothing to regret. Yeah. So this movie is really, really dependent upon, you can watch it and not have seen the show, but a lot of what's happening only makes sense in the context of the show.
I think it makes
sense either way.
It matters way more because so much of it is Young's decision on which way he wants to go, and then seeing Yuki's further characterization. And if you're not invested in the characters, that existential decision doesn't matter to you as much. It's still an interesting movie, and I think it's a good movie.
Yeah.
But having not seen the series, I didn't have the vested interest in seeing, this is such a different or expansion of their character, because I didn't have the other.
For me, as a film, I don't necessarily, I know it made it onto the list, but I don't necessarily feel strongly that it holds its own. Like, it doesn't really look film quality, and really it doesn't use the film format in a different way from the show. It just sort of feels like a bunch of scenes from the show that they put together to tell the story, which is fine too. And we also reviewed a bunch of other movies that were just sort of series spin-offs. But this one's weird because it's literally more just like the end of the show than it is a standalone movie. So anyway, you can get it pretty easily. It's on Amazon Prime. It's on Crunchyroll. It's on Funimation's
It
site
was on
too.
Funimation site. I don't think it's on Funimation's site anymore, but you can get the Blu-ray pretty easily.
Yeah, and it's dubbed, and it's a pretty good dub.
Yeah,
it's a good dub, solid. I thought it was a good dub. So if you're interested in sort of a deeper tale about what we just talked about, regrets and whether or not the pain is worth the joy.
Yeah, and the series isn't long. I think it's 2 seasons of 10 episodes
Yeah,
each.
short. It's like 20, 22 episodes or something.
Probably check out the series and then check out the movie.
Go check it out.
Do yourself a favor. Check it out.
So then that led us to our topic of the day.
We have the trailer.
Oh, sorry. That's somebody was telling me. We have the trailer. That's right. I didn't pull the trailer, so I totally forgot. Gil did it.
So let's check out the trailer. It's very well pulled.
That's a super low-key trailer, but it actually does feel a little bit like the feel of the show.
The English trailer, the only one I could find online was what they were calling an extended English trailer, and all the comments were saying it totally spoiled the movie.
Gotcha.
So we went.
Spoiler alert!
Forward. Yeah, she disappears.
What? So yeah, that gives you just a little idea of it, but I think it's worth watching, especially if you like those kind of themes and want something a little more low-key. It's very slice of life, too. It's very just sort of people hanging out.
Yeah.
So let's move on to our topic of the day, which is what's your favorite missing person movie? And as it turns out, we missed a few real obvious ones that we'll talk about later that you guys picked. But the good news is, at least we're not talking about this, the real obvious choices. I choose to look at the positive side.
That's what I've always said.
So my first choice is Michelangelo Antonioni's classic L'Avventura, filmed in 1959, released in 1960. The first part of a trilogy about films of disaffected married people. I am a big fan of Antonioni's work. I think his work is really divisive. There's a lot of people who think he's hopelessly highfalutin, and a lot of people think he's amazing. I think he's amazing. His movies are some of my favorites. He's kind of known for long stretches of silence and shooting really deserted places and lots of shots of people walking around in a huge emptiness. It's a lot about existential dread, which I feel every day, so it makes sense to me. So the overall story, and this is the first movie that first movie that Monica Vitti, that actress, appeared in. She became a legend. She worked with Antonioni a couple times, but this was her first sort of film. So this story concerns 3 friends that go on a holiday in Italy, and they go to an island. It's a woman and her best friend and her best friend's boyfriend, and then they join 2 other couples, and they go on a vacation, sort of just a weekend on an island, and her friend disappears. Her best friend is just gone. So the rest of the movie is her looking for her friend, and she's the only one who takes her disappearance seriously because her friend is sort of dramatic and has faked stuff before, and everyone else is just doesn't really even give a shit that she's gone. So she's the only one who takes it seriously, and she also starts sort of falling for her boyfriend, and her boyfriend starts making advances upon Monica Vitti's character, and she obviously feels guilty that she has feelings for him since her friend just disappeared. And it's basically about messed up, melancholy people who don't know what they want from their life. So it's very much of a time and place of its time. The 60s were definitely a decade.
What?
You just noticed his shirt.
Oh, it's Rick.
Who-
Yeah, it's cool.
Rick's on his shirt.
Yeah, I see that.
Anyway, keep going.
Alright.
Where this idea was being explored both in American literature and film, and certainly in European literature and film, like John Updike's Rabbit books and stuff like that. So this is very much of a piece with that kind of stuff. It's just a more angular European take. It's got some sex. It's got some cool. They shot a lot of deserted streets. Got some cool long shots of Monica Vitti walking on a beach, totally alone, with no sort of anything happening for long periods of time. I really love it. So I think we have the trailer, right? It's the trailer. So let's show you. The trailer doesn't do a great job because it's a 60s trailer, so it's like, it's, you know, it's very 60s, like a woman feeling desire, you know, that kind of thing. But it's actually a million times better than this trailer. This is just the easiest thing I could show you that shows you a little of the film. So check it out.
Please don't tell me it's in black and white.
Yeah.
Sandro! Anna dov'è?
Why?
Speriamo che non le trovino così lì, la troverebbero molti.
And it's in Japanese.
Entrato o non entrato?
Okay.
Conosci questa ragazza?
Sì. Quella ragazza che loro stanno cercando. Perché non provano allo specchio della gioventù di Pergusa?
Oh, it's in Spanish.
Is that okay for this?
Kinda, but I thought it would be like English thing, you know, or at least in color.
Ci sposiamo.
Cosa ti rispondo? No.
Sorry, so that's not a trailer because that's right, I didn't use the trailer. That is Criterion Collection does these things for some of their films called 3 Reasons, and it's just like 3 reasons to watch the movie. So those are 3 compelling reasons, I think. Have you seen any?
Yeah, I've seen.
Love
I
it,
didn't. I haven't seen the others. I didn't realize it was a trilogy, but I saw. I've seen this.
So then next up is a little. It wasn't that well liked when it came out, but I like it. And that is the David Fincher remake of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. It flopped hard enough that they're basically not going to make any sequels with Fincher and with these two, as far as I know. They were talking a little while ago about making a sequel because there are 3 books.
Did you read the books?
Yeah, I read the books at the beach, which is the perfect place.
Yeah.
They got progressively worse. The first one's definitely the strongest one. The second one's good too, though. The third one turns into just sort of.
I only read the first one, but I also read it at the beach.
It's a beach book. It's not like a amazing. It's a good thriller, but the character of Lisbeth Salander, played by Rooney Mara, she may return in the sequel, maybe produced by Fincher. But it's been 6 years since this movie came out, and there's no talk of a sequel right now. So I'm guessing it won't happen. So this movie was a remake of a European film, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which in and of itself was a film version of a novel that became a huge hit for several years in the U.S. and internationally. And it concerns a journalist, Mikael Blomkvist, who is played there by Daniel Craig, who is hired and sort of blackmailed, sort of hired to find out about a woman that disappeared 40 years ago from her, I think, uncle, maybe? Yeah, which is his niece. She was his niece. So he then in turn works with Lisbeth Salander, Rooney Mara's character, who's a sort of hacker researcher person, and they together are why this girl disappeared and what really happened to her, because everyone's pretty clear that she's dead, but they never found a body. And so a lot of the movie is them figuring out not only what happened on that day and why certain family members didn't do things they should have done, and people had arguments. So it's very Hitchcockian in that way, but then it's also about finding out who killed her and trying to figure out why. So it's a good adaptation of the book. I think it's the best possible one you could do. I think it's actually a movie that for me is a sign of Fincher's decline as a director, because it was the first adaptation he did. The first that's just like, yeah, I'm just going to do this book, which he then did with, he did that with another couple movies too, I think lessening returns, diminishing returns. But this one is good, and I think the performances, particularly Rooney Mara, is a perfect Lisbeth Salander, and Daniel Craig did a good job as Mikael Blomkvist. And, as a just sort of pulpy thriller, I think Fincher makes it seem classier than it really is, but it's really well shot. Obviously, it's really well edited. The Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross score is great, so it's a very good adult kind of thriller. They released it around Christmas, which I think was a huge mistake, because nobody wants to see a dark sort of serial killer sexual assault thriller on Christmas. Yeah, I just think that was a bad decision on their part. I think that may have led to why. And I also think their marketing was really avant-garde, because they were trying to make it super cool, and I don't think they realized, like, hey, guys, this book is a bullshit beach thriller. Like, don't, put fucking Diane Lane and Richard Gere in it and move on. Don't try to make it this super cool, angular art film.
The trailer's
it's
good.
not.
The trailer song.
Yeah, I mean, the trailer, we're going to show you the trailer in a minute. The trailer is an incredibly well-cut trailer that actually started a trend of using big songs or covers of big songs in trailers. But I also feel about the trailer that it is poorly designed to appeal to the middle-of-the-road audience they needed. To make a movie like this turn into a hit, they need either teens, which are not going to be into this movie, or they need the olds. I wish. They need the olds. And they didn't do a good job of marketing to the olds. I think they let Fincher control the marketing too much, and I think he wanted it to be cool. And it's just not cool. That's not its strength. So here is the very cool, well-cut trailer for the movie that doesn't tell you a goddamn thing about the movie, which is one way in which it fails. Check it out.
It's just good.
They premiered that during.
You would think it's not. It's a movie film.
I remember seeing that.
It wasn't.
It's a fucking.
What?
I remember seeing that trailer.
Oh yeah.
Like
And
another.
seen this before, have we?
I thought it was a lot cooler than that. Keep going.
It's
Sorry,
a
I'm not
fucking
talking.
premiered it during the Super Bowl, which is also idiotic. And then they premiered the movie during Christmas. And it's like, none of that is a good idea. So it's just a weird example of how you can do a really cool marketing campaign that ultimately does a disservice to the movie itself. But a good movie, and I think a movie well worth watching. I prefer it to I've seen the Swedish trilogy of films, and I really like the actress in those films too, but I prefer, and they're really well made, but I prefer this version just because Fincher is such a good filmmaker. And then finally, another dark kind of thriller that's fairly recent, and that is Denis Villeneuve's Prisoners, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Paul Dano, Hugh Jackman, and a bunch of other famous people. It was nominated for an Oscar for Best Cinematography because Roger Deakins did the photography, and he's, of course, a genius. This movie, I think it's adapted from a book, and it's about two little girls who disappear on Thanksgiving. And basically, Jake Gyllenhaal plays Detective Lukey, which is the dumbest name in the world, but he does a good job. And Hugh Jackman and what was the other guy's name? Terrence. No, anyway. Hugh Jackman plays one of the parents who basically kidnap one of the suspects and torture them. So it's basically about these two girls disappear. There's a detective looking for them. There's sort of a couple suspects in this neighborhood, but there's one in particular played by Paul Dano who's mentally challenged and is the person that they were last seen with. Terrence Howard, that's right. And so Hugh Jackman basically doesn't feel the police are doing enough, and he knows that with missing persons cases, every hour that the person is missing, there's less likelihood that they'll be back. So it's very much about the pain of these parents having their children gone, and so they decide to kidnap Paul Dano and torture him to make him talk, but he has the mental acuity of a 10-year-old, so it's totally messed up that they're torturing him. And meanwhile, Jake Gyllenhaal is trying to figure out who the real killer is. But the question is, will he get there before Hugh Jackman gets there and kills the person and ruins his life? Now, I have to say, as a parent of a young girl, I kind of supported Hugh Jackman the whole time. I don't think it was necessarily right what he did, but
Yeah, it was NC-17 when they first submitted it because it's so fucked up.
I totally get why he did what he did. I don't necessarily think it was right, but I also understand. But it's very well acted, and it was sort of a 1-2 punch for Villeneuve that year because he did another really good film with Jake Gyllenhaal that same year. And now, of course, he's directed the new Blade Runner. So
He's doing very well.
He's doing very well. So let's check out the trailer for Prisoners, which actually does sort of give you the plot of the movie, which is one reason it might have become a minor hit.
Happy Thanksgiving!
Can I take Julie to our house?
Wear a hat, please. You're just getting over a cold.
Where are your sisters?
I can't find them.
Anna? Joy?
I checked the entire house. They're not here.
They went outside. It's starting to rain, I think. Okay, there's this RV, and they were playing on it. We thought there was someone inside.
Stay right here. I couldn't find them.
911. Detective Loki.
Be a children detective.
I'm going to find your daughters.
Car reported RV was parked at a rest stop on Route 46.
Show me your hands! Where'd you put those cars? Where are they? What do you got? We didn't find anything. This thing's clean.
That boy has never been in trouble a day in his life. They're letting him go. What? The police said they're letting him go today.
When did you think someone had to go arrest this guy? Well, he has the IQ of 10. There's no way he could have done two girls and make them disappear. Maybe he wasn't on his own. We're considering all possibilities. I don't think you are considering all possibilities. Just let me do my job.
4 days have passed since Anna Dover and Joy Birch were last seen by their families.
I have 9 level 3 families living within a 10-mile radius. Keep knocking on doors. Mind if I take a look around? Well, you tell me his name.
He said he took them.
Did you say he was with anybody?
We found something.
Every day she's wondering why I'm not here. Me, not you. Not you. But me.
Someone is still making talk, or they're gonna die. 5 days we got enough to run out of time. We're gonna even go fighting together. You have to know somebody who knows where this guy is.
Why aren't you telling me?
This isn't right.
Why? This guy's fake. The girl is still out with him.
Yeah, good shit.
Which is good.
So those are.
Jackman is a good guy gone turned insane.
I think Hugh Jackman's a great actor. I think he understandably does way more giant movies and takes big paychecks, but I think he could have been an even better regarded actor if he had done more of these kind of, because I think he's great, but
he's just flying back and forth. Yeah,
he's just,
in the States.
He's just more used to, like, you know, big balling, which, you know, what are you going to do? So those are 3 of my favorite missing persons films.
Excellent choices.
Thank you.
I don't know how representative they're going to be at the Facebook picks, but I don't think we're really in that game today.
I don't think we are.
First for me is the 1988 George Sluzier Dutch film, The Vanishing. If you speak Dutch, it's also Spoorloos. He remade this movie in the early 90s.
Yeah, it was terrible. I did a promo for it on TNT.
Did not do a good job.
I had to watch it like 10 times.
But the original is really good.
Although Jeff Bridges' accent in the Jeff Bridges is in the original. I mean, in the remake, and he created this weirdo accent for his character to make him sort of like intellectual or whatever.
I think he must have. That must be how the director speaks, because it's like sort of Dutch.
Yeah, and it's super specific, and you just feel like clearly that there was a reason for it, but it's so
no one,
fucking
there's no way you would ever know.
It doesn't work at all.
Yeah, it's really bad. So this movie is basically a couple, Rex and Saskia are driving through France, and they say how much they love each other and that they're never going to leave each other, and then of course one of them goes missing. So Saskia, they stop at a gas station.
That's why they were saying that I love you.
Gone.
I don't want you to go missing. That's why. Yeah. No, don't touch me.
I love you.
Yeah. See, then now you want me to go missing.
So Saskia doesn't come back out. Rex gets really obsessed, and several years go by, and he keeps looking for her, finds a new girlfriend, and still brings her along for the ride to find his old girlfriend, which seems a little weird.
Seems like you're giving mixed signals, yeah, there.
But eventually,
want to go see a movie? No, I want to go look for my old girlfriend.
Yeah, want to come?
Want to come?
Yeah, I guess.
Well, we can eat at the rest stop on the way.
But he gets phone calls over the years, and the guy sort of sets up meetings and then doesn't show, and they just sort of fucks with him.
Keeps torturing him.
And so he ends up meeting at the end of the movie, endish of the movie, meeting the guy who may or may not. He thinks it's definitely the guy. And I'm not going to spoil the movie, but it ends in a really fucked up way.
30-year-old movie.
He gives him a real Hobson's choice whether or not he's going to,
I would call it a Sophie's choice,
believe that this is what happened or not. And it's basically like, the only way you're going to know if it's me is to trust me in a sort of weird way.
Devil of the Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah. So this is the trailer in not English to tell you what's going on in this movie.
Je m'appelle Raymond Lemort. Je suis sociopathe et claustrophobe. Je n'ai jamais trompé ma femme.
Я ведь я вышел с его.
Je m'empresse de vous dire que pour moi le pire, c'est pas tuer. Mine de rien, c'est devenu une nation.
Vous êtes un menteur. Menteur? Non, je ne fais. Non. Oui? Et je veux
Vous avez violé Saskia. Si elle est morte, je vais vivre moi aussi.
Et si l'homme qui voulait savoir, c'était vous?
Not a great show. Yeah. Great movie.
Yeah. It's almost worth watching the remake to see. It's like a good bad movie night.
It is good. Watch the good one. It's actually watch the bad one first and then watch the good one to see how it can be done. Right.
It's just weird that it was the same director.
Yeah.
And it's like one movie's really good and one movie's not. But anyway, a lesson in, I guess, not looking backwards.
Lightning striking twice, yeah.
Not just, you made it in Dutch and French.
Yeah, just
move on.
Yeah.
He was making, what was the River Phoenix movie? Dark Blood, when River Phoenix died, the last.
Oh, that was his movie.
And then they ended up finishing it anyway, and that movie's really weird. But anyway. Next for me is Ben Affleck's directorial debut, Gone Baby Gone, from 2007. And in this movie, Casey Affleck plays a private investigator along with Michelle Moynihan, his girlfriend, partner. And they are investigating a disappearance of a young girl and are working with the police force. And it quickly turns into a really more of a crime procedural, whether or not which cop's dirty, who do you believe?
Yeah.
The way things seem aren't really the truth. So Casey Affleck becomes sort of obsessed with. He's never was a cop, but he's got underworld.
Yeah.
Ties. He's from the neighborhood.
He's a private detective.
But he's a private detective, and he works with Ed Harris, who's a cop, and on this case, and it's dealing with drug dealers and police corruption. And Casey Affleck, in the beginning, you're not really sure, is this guy the good guy or is he not? And it's sort of a character.
Is in Lowell too? It's in Southeast.
I don't think it's not in Lowell because that's the fighter that's in Lowell.
Well, I mean, I just thought this was.
But it might as well be
the same kind of town.
Yeah, it's in an outskirt of Boston, and everybody gets to do their Boston accent.
Fucking Dunkin' Donuts.
But
Dunkin' Kid.
I like Ben Affleck's directorial movies. I don't think
I wasn't a big fan of the one that won an Oscar.
Go Fuck Yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it was fine.
Yeah. It was...
Go Fuck Yourself, yeah.
It was fine. It felt like a 70s movie where it was...
I mean, it wasn't bad.
It's a story to tell.
Yeah.
We're doing it. And the fact that they sort of made up...
I didn't see his last directorial effort, the one where it was he played a gangster in the 30s.
Oh, yeah.
And the poster is just him looking bored. I was just like, this doesn't look like you really put your best foot forward.
I feel like
Ben Affleck.
He may have lost his way a little bit. But let's check out the trailer for...
The drugs or the sex?
A little bit of both. Let's check out the trailer for Gone Baby Gone.
She goes across to Daddy's and she comes home and it's gone.
Who would take my little girl? She never hurt anybody.
4-year-old child is on the street. If we don't catch the abducted by day 1, only about 10% are ever solved. This is day 3.
Do you know people in the neighborhood who don't talk to the police?
Want to?
We want to hire you to augment the investigation.
I saw my daughter.
It's alright, look at the phone.
You have to go home to sleep.
Of course. Investigated an abduction before.
I think Mr. Dupree was hoping we could help with the neighborhood aspect of this investigation.
Half the guys you know are degenerates.
And you know what the other half are?
What?
Cops. Don't hold it against me.
That's right. You asked me to find some people for you. Think I found them.
You're saying you didn't do it. Fine. When it turns out you're lying, I'm gonna bribe cops to go after you. I'm gonna tell everyone I know that you're a CIA back. I know a lot of people.
These two guys in the house with us.
Squad will be here in 5 minutes.
You guys gonna wait for them?
Then I'll wait.
Lied to me. I can't think of one reason big enough for him to lie and small enough not to run.
You didn't think long and hard before you start running around here investigating the police.
Let it go.
Come here trying to get an over one. And don't try to take on something you don't have the shoulders for.
You gotta take a side. If you feed a child, you're not on my side. If you see me coming, you better run because I'm gonna lay you down.
This child, it's all I care about. We're gonna bring him home.
Tell him I'm sorry.
How much? What did you do? Where I come from, you die with your secrets.
This is the kind of thing that if you do, Patrick, you want to be sure. Are you sure?
No.
I feel like he held on to film by Ben Affleck a little longer than this.
I think it's good. Yeah, I like it too. I think it's a Dennis Lehane story, and he writes a whole bunch of books about these two characters, about the husband and wife detective team. And he also wrote For the Wire, so there's a lot of, it has a similar sort of grounded feel.
Inside the cop,
in true crime, yeah.
It's a fucked up world.
He's a great writer. He's a great writer, though, and I think it's a good movie. And Casey Affleck is a good actor.
Yeah, piece of shit, but
yes, piece of shit, but a good actor.
Alleged. Yeah. The last for me is Clint Eastwood's 2008 Angelina Jolie movie Changeling, not The Changeling, which you remember from episode 127.
I like The Changeling.
This movie I like. You saw it, didn't like it, or you never saw it?
I never saw it. It just did not look like my thing. And Clint Eastwood's late period is always sort of iffy.
Yeah.
If Clint was in it, I probably would say.
So Angelina Jolie plays a mother in the 20s whose son Walter goes missing. He's like 9 or 10 years old.
That's right. This is basically gaslighting the movie.
Yeah. And it's
like, you want to know what gaslighting is, watch this movie.
So that's what I like about it, that it's just, you watch it, you're like, that's fucking bananas. And then it's like, oh yeah.
That really happened.
So her son goes missing. A really short period of time goes by where you would really feel like you would believe the mom, like a couple months. And the cops find her son, but she says it's not him. And they're like, you're just crazy. You're being hysterical. Stop being so crazy. And so
this boy is clearly your son.
Shorter. He's been circumcised. The dentist says it's not the same dental records. The teachers all say it's not the same person. They end up throwing her in a psychiatric prison where a bunch of other people have been put for questioning the police. And it's basically just, you're a woman, so we'll tell you what's right. And it's totally fucked up, but I like it as a movie. This is the trailer for...
It's totally fucked up, but I like it.
No, I mean, I like it as a movie. And I like it because it's an example of it being fucked up. I don't like that.
That's what it sounded like for a minute.
It's fucked up, and that's what I like about it.
That's what I like about it.
Let's check out the trailer.
I think I saw this one too. I think I remember this.
My name is Christine Collins. On March 10th, my 9-year-old son, Walter Collins, disappeared. The 5-month investigation led to a boy being brought to Los Angeles from DeKalb, Illinois. The LAPD told me and all of you that this boy was my son. He was not my son.
Is this Mrs. Christine Collins?
Yes.
I'm the pastor over at St. Paul's Presbyterian. I've made it my mission in life to bring to light all the things the LAPD wish none of us ever knew about. This police department does not tolerate dissent. You are in a position to embarrass them, and they do not like it.
I just want my son home.
Why are you doing this, Mrs. Collins?
You must stop looking for my son.
Why should we be looking for someone we've already found?
The mayor wants this to go away.
You can't do this.
You are conveying the prisoner to the Los Angeles County General Hospital Psychopathic Ward.
By signing this, you certify the police were right in sending you here for observation, and it absolves them of all responsibility.
I won't sign that.
Orderly! What the hell have you done with Christine Collins?
I know my son is out there. I can still feel him.
Your son, unfortunately, would not be the first. But if you do it right, you may very well be the last.
Your handling of the Christine Collins case has exposed this department to public ridicule. If the boy you brought back is not Walter Collins, then where the hell is he?
I want my son back. I want my son back.
Seems like an uplifting tale.
Yeah, it's really a bright, sunny day. So those are some of our picks, which are most likely not your picks. But let's check out.
Let's find out. Let's
some
deep
of Adult
dive.
Swim Facebook's choices.
So we have for the Adult Swim Facebook,
Finding Nemo, which
pretty obvious. I mean,
so in my
it's
mind,
a little weird because
it's that it's looking for someone where you don't know where they are, as opposed to that
Right.
you're separated.
yeah, that the viewer knows where the viewer knows where the person is. But yeah, so for me, Finding Nemo was more about fatherhood and not about a missing person. But I understand
Right.
why someone would pick Finding
We're
Nemo.
just justifying why we did.
It's a great movie. Big Lebowski, totally should have thought of Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really obvious one.
Taken to me is still the same sort of thing where
They don't follow her until you said that yesterday. You're with her until she's kidnapped, at which point you don't see her again until he finds her. In the other Taken movies, you see both of them.
Right.
But in Taken, the original, his daughter is he's with her at the beginning, then she's kidnapped, and then he is trying to find her, and you don't see her. But Taken is another really obvious one that a movie I think is hilarious and awesome.
Yeah,
I wish we could have thought of that. Journey 2 is a video game, so I don't know, you failed. And The Force Awakens, which, that's a good one too. They're looking for Luke the whole movie, and they don't find him till the very end. So
they're looking for the path to Luke. But
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Good job.
And then, so let's look at the Toonami Facebook, your choices. Once again, Finding Nemo at the top, Taken, Gone Girl,
which you almost did, but for different reasons.
I almost did Gone Girl because I think it's such a bad movie and an example of Fincher starting to go down the drain that I wanted to highlight just how fucking stupid that movie is. But I decided not to be named.
I listened to that book on audio as an audiobook, and
it is fucking stupid.
I wish she was actually dead.
Totally.
And the book was half as long, and it would have been way better.
Totally, she sucks. And so does Ben Affleck's character. Then The Force Awakens again, and then The Hangover, which makes sense. Yeah. I think I forgot the Hangover movie. I've erased the Hangover movies from my mind like they never existed. I can't remember any of them. Like I don't remember any of it.
I don't know if I ever saw the third one.
I never saw the third one. I saw the second one, and that was enough for me. I was like, okay, I don't want. And I think I watched someone watch it on a plane over their shoulder.
That's real creepy. But excellent choices all around.
Yeah, you guys picked not better ones, but you guys picked the ones we should have thought of.
Sounds like you're
not better.
I'm not gonna say they're better. But
I'm not gonna say they're better. You did all right.
Advantageous.
You did all right.
But I'm not gonna use the word better.
So let's go to our sneak peeks for the week. First up, we have a topical promo for Dragon Ball Super, episode 27, premiering this Saturday night at 11. Remember. So check that out.
On the next all-new episode of Dragon Ball Super.
I don't believe it.
A lot of things have changed while you were gone. For starters, now I can do this. At least try to face your death with some shred of honor.
Dragon Ball Super, Saturday at 11.
It all worked out. You self-serving glory on.
Only Toonami on Adult Swim.
And then we have something we already showed last week to the people who were at San Diego Comic-Con, and if you were watching our live stream, you saw it, but it will officially air this Saturday night. So we're going to show you again the homily that Gil Austin wrote called "Sometimes the Bad Guy Wins."
Here's something they don't often tell you in movies or TV shows. Sometimes the bad guy wins. It happens, but you can't let that stop you. You can't just give up and not try anymore.
It doesn't matter what I think I can do. I still have to try with everything I've got.
You have to do your part to fight back.
I'll teach you justice.
Not with your fists, but with your words and your actions.
The job that we must give to ourselves now is to set examples and aid the next generation.
Don't just sit there. Get up, raise your voice, and let the world know that you're not going to take it lying down.
I can't let it end like this, but there's even the slightest chance. I have to take it.
You're going to try, you're going to help, you're going to make things right. Because together, we can do anything.
Oh, yeah!
Sometimes the bad guy wins. Kill.
Yeah, I'm well aware.
Was it? Were you just trying to say something? No. Trying to be smart ass. Nope. All right, just making sure.
Yes, sir.
So next up is this Dana?
This is Dana and Steve dressed in their
amazing costumes designed by Ashley Zeltzer, our friend and co-worker.
Who also did our amazing costumes.
Did our costumes the last couple of years, yeah. And this year we decided comfort would go before awesomeness. So our costumes weren't quite as elaborate as they have been in previous years, but they still required a good bit of creation on Ashley's part. So thanks again to her for all her hard work and the amazing Tom and Sarah costumes. They were awesome. Tom even had a thing on his arm, so if you talked to him while he was in a helmet, he sounded like the Tom voice.
Yeah, he had a headset, like a drive-through headset underneath his helmet.
It was incredible. You couldn't hear it on the panel because we didn't want it to echo, but when he was walking
People
around,
really freak out with that feedback.
Yeah.
Like you just murdered their child.
he was shaking people's hands and talking in the Tom voice, and they were like, "Oh my god!" Like they were freaking out. So,
but this is them walking down from our wardrobe fitting room while Jason and I were furiously assembling our costumes, heading down to the panel. So let's check it out.
All right, here we go. All right, we go sideways. All right.
So cool. Thank you. Oh my goodness, I didn't
I love you.
I love you.
I'll give it a hug first. I'll give it a hug. Thank you. It means so much to me.
Ha! 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 Let's talk.
Catherine! Oh, you love her, bro. Your costume's so fucking cool.
Thank you. You don't know me, Tom.
I really don't know, but it's so cool.
Tsunami and Sarah, also from Tsunami.
Yeah, from the North Show. I'll take a picture later. I love Tsunami, dude. Thanks for watching. Yes. I was when Tom died. Yeah, you were the man.
I know you say them. His costume looks awesome.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
It looks like the actual Tom costume.
Forget about this
Yeah,
one.
yeah. That is cool. Yeah. That's awesome.
Thanks to everybody who came out and watched
thanks
our
to
streaming show.
thanks to Steve and Dana for wearing
Yes,
those costumes
putting
for
it
hours.
with hours of
That was literally hours of their time.
makeup and fitting,
Yeah.
and then before the panel.
Yeah, and I think you'll see more about Dana's costume stuff in weeks to come because she filmed all of her making of the costume, so I think you'll see more of that. It takes a lot of work to make. I mean, as you cosplayers out there know, it's hours and hours of labor to make a really great costume. But I will say that the years of I never wear costumes. I'm not a Halloween person, and I don't have a body type that's easy to fit costumes. I would have to make it, and I'm far too lazy for that kind of thing, and also don't really care about dressing up. But these experiences have definitely shown me how much work
solidified that feeling in your head.
No, just well, not that, but it's also made me impressed with the true cosplayers who really bust their ass and work on a costume all year. How amazing that costume looks. Now I know what it took to get there, and it's even more impressive to see the people that come out and have these amazing costumes that they made by themselves. It's nuts. So yeah, and thank you for everybody who watched our panel, and hopefully it was fun for you.
It's fun for me.
It wasn't fun for me. So finally, we have this week's Adult Swim single, which is a new song from my buddy Nick Hook, featuring Bungie Garlin and Fat Man Scoop. That premiered on Wednesday of this week, but you can get it. You can go listen to it right now. Just go to adultswim.com/singles, and you can hear this week's single and all the previous weeks. We're now up to, I think it's like week 10 or something by now. So let's check out a little bit of "Follow the Money" by Nick Hook.
Follow that money. Follow that money. Yeah. Follow that money. Follow that money. Follow that money. Follow that money. Yeah. Follow that money. Follow that money. Follow that money. Now. Follow that money. Follow that money. Follow that money. If you think that you need some brand new clothes, follow that money wherever it goes. Right into the bank, through the nose. Follow that money wherever it goes.
That wraps up this week's Toonami Pre-Flight. We'll be back with an all-new episode and another fairly obscure topic. Please join us then.
Remember the time change. Set your clocks back. Toonami clocks back a half an hour.
11 to 3:30 now. Thanks.
Okay. We're done.
Hello. All right. Thank you for streaming with me. Want me to turn off the stream? Bye, guys.